Now, when you hear that a movie is being remade, the end result is almost always terrible, but here are 5 horror movies that the remake is actually better than the original. And keep in mind, this is all subjective. These are just movies that I think are way better than the movies that they were inspired by. But let me know in the comments what you think is the best horror movie remake while you're watching the video. And if you like the video, make sure you hit that like button. It really does help the channel out. Without further ado, let's get to it. First movie on the list is The Invisible Man. This is released in 2020. It's directed by Leigh Whannell, the guy that gave us Insidious Chapter 3 and The Wolfman, but we're not gonna talk about that movie. We're gonna talk about The Invisible Man. The Invisible Man on paper shouldn't be that scary, right? It's just a guy who's invisible, you know, we've seen worse, right? But when they drop you into the shoes of a woman who's in a very abusive relationship, and when she finally gets away, the guy that she just left has a suit that makes him turn invisible, and he's gonna do everything in his power to get back to her and take her back. That is a scary concept because while people aren't invisible, it can be a very real thing for a lot of people. And if you aren't in that situation, this movie does a really good job at dropping you in there and making you feel that same fear, the same anxieties. There are scenes in this movie that are done really well where there's nothing going on, but she is, you know, uneasy when she's alone. She doesn't know if he's in the house with her. And there are so many effective scenes that you as an audience don't know, and you're nervous. You're nervous watching this movie, but when he does pop up, it comes up at the most random times and it is terrifying. Such good jump scares. If you haven't seen this movie, highly recommend it. Next up is a movie that just deserves more love as a whole, and that's the 2005 remake of House of Wax. This movie, when it came out, and I remember when this came out, everyone was crapping on this. Why? Because Paris Hilton was in it. But guess what, guys? It's still a good movie. It's still a great movie. And to be fair, she does hold her own enough in this movie to not take away from it or to really distract from it. She's a side character. But either way, this movie takes the concept, and only the concept itself, of the original House of Wax and does its own thing with it. And you have to remember, this was released in 2005. This was an era of gore, of just kind of going as crazy as you can. This was like the Wild West of horror, especially in those early 2000s. So this definitely is one of those movies that you can look back on and expect crazy twists, some really creepy and scary imagery, and just an overall interesting story at the very least. If this isn't, you know, your style, if you're not really down with that kind of gore and all that stuff, it's a very interesting story that is gonna keep you entertained for the runtime, and I don't know if you could really ask for more than that. And for the next one, we're just gonna stick with this era in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. I'm gonna tell you right now, y'all, this is the best Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, hands down. They nail it. I understand that they're remaking an absolute classic, one of the most important movies in the horror genre. They remade it, but they do such a good job. The movie is beautifully shot. It's scary. Leatherface is probably the scariest version of Leatherface as far as being an absolute tank, taking everybody out, being a force to be reckoned with. And they do a great job at not just focusing on Leatherface and the scary concept that he is, but the family. They do a great job at letting us know that no matter who you meet in this town, you are screwed. And that is another level of fear where there's no one that you can reach out to for help. And I think that the original did a really good job with that. And I think this one did a great job with that. And if you really, the turning point and really the thing that I think this one does much better is the gore. Right? We're sticking to that era that I just talked about. They go full on with this concept of a guy with a chainsaw and what he can do with that. And they show you in this. Where in the original, they insinuate a lot. If you go back and watch the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's not that gory. And it's crazy to think that, right? But that's the case. So I think that's what this one does much better. Plus, I like the story, I like the characters. Jessica Biel as Erin, the final girl, nailed it. It's just an overall great time. I think this is the best one in the franchise. Now, I'm not saying it's leaps and bounds better than the original, because the original is a classic, it's a banger. But this one, I just prefer. Plus, I remember going to see this when I was just a kid. Even the trailer freaked me out, and I went to go watch the movie. I did it, I conquered my fears, and now I love the movie. And the final movie I'm gonna talk about of this era is the Friday the 13th remake from 2009. Guys, I don't like Friday the 13th. I've tried to get into that franchise, and I'll try again. Admittedly, I haven't gone full head on into this, but the movies that I've seen of this franchise just don't do it for me, okay? The original, I thought, was kind of boring, to be honest with you. It just didn't work for me. It didn't click with me. I watched Jason X when I was a kid. Cool. don't really think about it much after. When I saw this movie when it was released, which is very similar to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and movies like that of this era, it's beautifully shot. It looks great. And Jason is a tank in this. He was already a tank to begin with. I understand that and I respect that. But this movie, he is another level. He is going after everybody in creative ways. And I like how they mix the first, 1, 2, and 3 of Friday the 13th into one movie. I feel like it makes the movie pacing just go really, really smooth and really fast. You give us characters that we don't really like, so when they do end up meeting Jason, it's a great time. I think this movie does a lot of things right. It's very fast, it doesn't have a long run time, and it's just overall great kills, looks great. I don't know what else I could ask for. And last but not least, this is easily one of my favorite horror movies, if not my favorite horror movie of all time, John Carpenter's The Thing, 1982. A lot of people don't know that this is a remake. This is a remake from a black and white movie a few decades before this. Guys, this movie rips. This movie is fantastic. This movie does everything perfectly, from the score, which is very ominous and creepy and kind of low energy, but it works for the setting and what they're going through, and it's crazy, it's insane. And the thing this movie does probably better than anything it did before it or after this is the practical effects. The practical effects in this are unbelievable. The ideas that they come up with the imagery itself, and then they actually put that into the movie somehow, it's unbelievable. If you could think up your worst nightmare or just the craziest thing possible, scary wise, this movie's probably gonna match that, if not beat it. It's insane what they were able to do back then with what they had available. It's insane. And then you have the mystery of who is infected, who has the thing inside of them. And that right there, you have the horror elements with the jump scares, you have the imagery with the practical effects, and then you have the added layer of anxiety and the mystery. It's just, I love this movie. I love this movie. I can't say anything bad about this movie, especially that ending. It brings everything that I just said into one package and it cuts to black. Now those are only 5 of the horror remakes that I consider much better than the originals. If I missed out on your favorites, drop them in the comments because there are a ton out there, and even a couple that I didn't name in this video. So make sure you shout out your favorites down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.